Hey everyone, today on the show we're talking about how to improve your soil drastically. So a lot of people know me from reading The Market Gardener, my first book, but I haven't stopped writing and researching and farming ever since, and I'm really proud today to talk about this new collection that came out. It's in these form of these small booklets. There's going to be 10 of them eventually that are coming out, and the new one is on soil. It's on living soil. There's so much to learn about how to work with living soils. It talks about how to really nurture your soil, which are the best steps, everything you need to learn and do to get healthy plants from healthy soil, which is really the basics, but there's a lot to learn. So check out that collection. And I'm really proud of it. It's exciting what's coming up. So it doesn't need to be complicated, and there's not a million ways to get there, but I'll give you 5 things that we do and that a lot of the pros do out there that's going to really help improve the fertility in your soils. And the first one is to ditch any tilling. Anything that revolves around a rototiller, like your grandfather used to do, that's a huge no-no. You want to move away from that because the tiller destroys your soil ecology. And you want to replace a tiller with something like a broad fork. Like a broad fork will work the soil deeply, but it won't invert the layers, it won't disturb the ecology, it won't bring up weed seeds from the bottom up, and it's going to make sure that you have really loose and deep soil. So a broad fork is a really great tool for that. And from there, you want to shallow cultivate to prepare your seed beds. So we did a video on permanent beds, you can check that out, but shallowly preparing your seed beds with something like a tilter or a wheel hoe, or if you're getting to the pro level, you can even use a walk behind tractor with a tool that doesn't invert the layers like a power harrow. So these are all great strategies to have amazing seed beds, great soil, loose and deep, perfectly conditioned without tilling it. Number 2 is to use great compost. Like, that's the key to soil fertility, is to inoculate your soil with amazing compost. And when I'm talking about amazing compost, I'm talking about compost that is alive, that has microbial life, bacterial life, that has everything inside of it that is kind of inoculating your soil with beautiful ecology. And to have beautiful compost, to make beautiful compost, you don't do it by chance. We have this video about how we do it here, but there's a lot of great folks out there that are doing amazing compost. And what you want to do is either buy compost from these guys, most often than not, they're geeks, or learn from them. But once you have the beautiful stuff, you want to make sure that you're putting enough of it also. A good 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and you don't need to till it in, bringing it back to principle number 1. You can just lay down to the bed and just put a lot of it, and you can even seed directly onto it, okay? So that's another principle that's going to really help you with your fertility. So the next thing, and that's an important one, is keep it covered. Keep your soil covered as much as possible and as often as possible. So the biointensive techniques that I use and that I've been teaching for all these years does that. Because of the close spacing, you see how the crop just occupies the space. It forms a canopy, and that canopy shades out the weed. It just keeps the soil moist, and all the benefits of getting more yields and just like a bigger revenue per square foot. But that's kind of built into the way we plant. These are close spacings, and it's going to keep the soil covered once the plant is established. But there's other times where you're direct seeding or you're transplanting, and you also want to have the soil covered at that time. So you're using landscape fabric to keep the weeds in check, but also to keep the soil covered. You're using black silage tarps that are UV treated to cover many beds at once, and that helps reduce the weed pressure on the farm, but it also just keeps it covered, which is what you want. We also rely on a lot of floating row covers that's going to have thermal capacity. We use them mostly in the spring when actually the soil is bare because we're transplanting. So these row covers, they do protect the soil. And same thing with insect nets that we use in the summer. And then you can also mulch with straw, with leaves, or with compost. Compost is a great way. If you're layering compost, you can mulch that way. So just think as your soil as an open wound, and you want to make sure that you're covering it with a plaster, or just like covering it with clothing or whatever. You want to have it covered as much as possible. So all these strategies can be really helpful, but what if you really want to understand your soil? That's really key. And that's why we have a resource at the Market Gardener Institute. It's an ebook about soils, and it's there to help you assess your soil characteristics, your profiles, understand the biology inside your soil, what are the key metrics that you can measure to really make sure that you're tempering your soil the right way to get the most out of it and to grow healthy plants, which ultimately become pest and disease resistant. The key is the soil. Check out that ebook, it's there for you. You can download it now, so let's get back to it. The other thing, it's really important, and that's really where the pros are very knowledgeable, is that you're not only feeding the soil. Just adding compost in itself is great practice, but it's not enough. You're feeding the soil, but you also want to make sure that you're feeding the plant. You're fertilizing the plant. So compost and manure, which are amendments, will be also supplemented with organic fertilizers. And the organic fertilizer, it could be chicken manure, it could be feather meal, blood meal, it could be alfalfa meal. There's all sorts of different organic fertilizers that are out there, not synthetic, because that's a huge no-no. You're depleting your soil when you're using them. But the organic ones, you want to sync them with the needs of the plant. So a tomato plant will require lots of nitrogen, and let's say a Swiss chard won't as much. So you're syncing your fertilizers with the plant that you're growing. Okay, one final tip, and that's an important one, because if you really want to deep dive in soil ecology and understanding your soil, the best way to do this is by doing a soil test. A soil analysis that you send to a lab. It's going to give you not just NPK, but it's going to give you also trace minerals. It's going to help you better understand where your soil's at. And then if you do this test every year or every other year, you'll be able to measure the progress of your practice. So it's the snapshot. It's not perfect. It doesn't tell you all, but you're on your way towards having at least, somewhat of a benchmark to follow. So soil testing, in my opinion, is really good. And if you really want to learn a lot more about soil ecology and how to harness the power of soil ecology in your growing practices, I'm strongly inviting you to check out our beginner's course at the Market Gardener Institute. We have a whole chapter on soil fertility, and the course is there for you. So check it out at themarketgardener.com. The beginner's course is a great way to get introduced to a lot of these concepts. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys are doing well. I am. I'll see you next time. JM out.